Without further ado, I might ask Kyle to come up and join us. As I said before, Kyle's daughter Matilda was diagnosed. She's now 12 and going well, but and Kyle will probably tell us it never finishes. Once you're diagnosed, there's always something happens. So what I suppose to start with, Kyle, if I take you back to when you were first diagnosed, when Matilda was diagnosed.
Sorry, I've just embarrassed my son already.
He's kissing her there. That's all right. Cute little brother, mate. That's
12 years ago in 5 weeks from now, DX Day. Not one you forget. 8-week-old baby. It's pretty life-changing stuff, and holy crap, I'm already tearing up about it. So we had a baby girl and took her in for a 6-week checkup. 8 weeks in, and they called us back and said, "You got to get her to the hospital quick." I think there's a few photos from pretty much the first day. Pretty horrible first day, and there's a photo there. Matilda hadn't been christened yet. They wanted to start treatment straight away, so my wife's a strong practicing Catholic, so we had to have her christened in the ICU. And they told us that she had about a 10% chance of surviving that night. And if she got through that night, 20% chance. So we spent the next 211 nights in hospital. There's a few photos that sort of show what it was like. That's Matilda's grandparents came up to visit, drove about 1,500 kilometres to rush up there. And we did finally get her out of there. Did finally get her into a ward and into treatment. I'm not sure what to tell you about, but maybe I can talk to some of the photos. Around 6-8 months in, this is a stem cell transplant. She had a bone marrow transplant. That's what life was like in hospital for 211 days. Not a lot of fun. We made this is Jock again, I'm just embarrassing him. Didn't like needles a lot, but unfortunately we had to put him through that to see if he was compatible for a donor. And you half hope that he's not, because you don't want to put him through that. That's my wife and Jock leaving the hospital on a weekend after visiting, and then you have to go home. And we spent 24-hour shifts in the hospital for 211 nights, swap over every lunchtime. So Jock had his mum at home one day and his dad at home the next. For all that time. When you're going through treatment, you imagine all the things you'd like to do with your baby. One of those was to get to fly a kite. Are there any that aren't going to make me tear up? Post-treatment, Matilda's very lucky. She's a healthy 12-year-old girl. Healthy in the context of post-treatment. And we call it burden of life. For what? She's very lucky. She has been on no medication. She has no no lingering real health problems. If people see her, they wouldn't know that she'd ever been sick. Behind the scenes, we probably spend 8-10 grand a year on dental treatment, trying to chemo. In the first year of life, chemo, your adult teeth are in your jaw already, and chemo destroys them. So we spend money each year trying to work on her teeth so that she can have something to build onto later on, and have a nice smile. You won't see any photos of her with her mouth open and teeth because she knows to hide that a little bit. That's just what she does. So is that all right? So there's things like that. Unfortunately, one of the drugs that she had to have before the bone marrow transplant, we were told that would essentially make her sterile, so she won't have babies. She doesn't know that yet. When we were told that news, I'm not looking forward to that conversation with her. When we were told that news, my wife's role was to look at the long-term stuff whenever we had meetings, and my job was to kill the cancer. My wife asked what would happen if we don't give her this drug. And unfortunately the news was, we don't think she'll survive. So I don't have a choice. Certainly back then. And you have to just kill the cancer, knowing that drug is going to have lifelong implications for her. Probably the other major time that we faced a real challenge was after bone marrow transplant. We unfortunately got the news that 42 days later we got the news that her bone marrow had shown signs of clone cells, and we were told that she was going to relapse and there'd be nothing they could do for her. It's not really acceptable to any parent to just take your child home and wait for that to happen. So at that time I'd heard about a new treatment called T-cell therapy. And at the time it was only available in America. There were 3 trials available in the US. I applied to get her into 2 of them. I was told it probably cost us around 750 grand. I didn't have that. Had no idea where it would come from, but I applied because you can't just accept there's no treatment. We were rejected from both the trials I applied for on different criteria. And I couldn't bring myself to apply for the 3rd one because if we got rejected from that, then we would have no hope left. And really all we had for that whole 211 days was hope. So luckily we were able to do some other things that really were risking her life. We took her off immunosuppressants about 6 months earlier than they would normally, hoping that her new immune system would fire up and kill off these cancer cells. And they went on for another 2 months. and we got some really good news. So she's been healthy ever since that news came through. And it was shortly after that that her oncologist was going down to Canberra to present a case study on Matilda for an event that the Kids Cancer Project were doing at Parliament House. And he asked if he could do that, and I said yes, and then I was invited down to go to that. And it was a pretty rough experience to see her case study and to see senators crying. But that event was to lobby the government to try to bring clinical trials like that to Australia, to fund research in Australia. And I was completely behind that, because all through our treatment, there are fantastic charities that do amazing work. Red Kite and Camp Quality, and both our kids get a little gift from Camp Quality every birthday still. They're all amazing charities, but as a parent, I just don't want any other parents to go through it. And the only way to do that is to find cures, find better treatments. Find cures so more kids live, and find better treatments so when they're cured of cancer, they can have their life back, a normal life. 10 years later, I know that the T-cell therapy that I tried to get Matilda into in America, I know that's now available in Australia in every state. I think 8 different locations provide that particular therapy. And that's largely because of the work that the Kids Cancer Project do, and lots and lots and lots of other treatments like that are available because of the funding that they've given to trials and to improving the treatment for our kids. You got any questions?
No,
I'm
I
just
don't need to.
rattling on.
My next question was but you just answered that. Obviously, you've been supporting the Kids Cancer Project. You came to that event.
Yeah.
You've been riding your bike around Brisbane with a group of Brisbane bunchies raising money. Golf days like this. It is for the reasons you said it. And thank you very much for sharing that story, man. I know how difficult it is, but the reality of that for us in the Kids Cancer Project is there's 3 of these stories every day. 3 children getting diagnosed every day. There's more of them surviving, and our vision is 100% survival. But to Kyle's point, not with lifelong side effects and things that with better treatments, kinder treatments, they're not as damaging. You would have seen in the video there where Alex Willows talks about the adults. The children's cancer is different to adults, and at the moment, predominantly, every child's first thing is chemotherapy, and we've been giving chemotherapy to kids for 50 plus years. But when you see the advances in the last 4 or 5 years around some of this immunotherapy, CAR T-cell treatment started in leukemia. You can now, we've got researchers that are looking at CAR Ts in sarcomas, so bone cancers, also in brain cancers as well. So, being able to use your own immune system to fight off cancers is amazing, and it'll probably be one of the leading sort of changes in cancer moving forward. So the ability of the immune system and the stuff that you said there that your daughter went through, and there's probably well, it's not the best thing is meeting people like Kyle that have been through this journey and then are so passionate and want to make a difference because they don't want the next family that's diagnosed to go through like you said, the same stuff that he does. So, if he can support us and help us raise some money, it also means that the next family that are diagnosed, and I dare say the treatments that your daughter got a decade ago, they wouldn't be giving those treatments. They would have definitely improved. So, our goal is about to continue to move those standard of care and the treatment, so it's always improving and reducing side effects. So. You answered every one of my questions. I had diagnosed.
You had some questions. You should have
I did have
stopped
three,
me.
but that's that was great.
Clearly, I'm better at riding my bike and hitting a golf ball around and sending a cheque rather than talking about it. But that's literally the first time I've spoken about Matilda's treatment. It's I think that's an indication of how challenging that journey is.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you for sharing that.
Cheers.
So